Face the future.
This is it. This is the QB proc. Dead. Hi everyone, Full Metal Jayce here, and today I'm excited to bring to you my advanced Jayce mechanics, tips, and tricks video to help you become a better Jayce player. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. But before we get started, I also want to mention that I will be making this custom chroma that I created available to the public for everyone to be able to use through the program wooxy, so you know how to install it. If you don't know how to install it, I will be making a video separate from this in the future within the next couple of days to explain how to install said custom skins. But be sure to keep an eye out in the description down below for the link. And without further ado, let's get right into today's video. Now, to those that are wondering why the new Dark Harvest Keystone is so extremely efficient on Jayce at the moment, is because I have found a hidden mechanic involved in the Dark Harvest that a lot of players either are unaware of or haven't learned about yet. And with as you know about Dark Harvest, when you damage a champion that's below 50% HP, or rather damaging a champion below 50% HP, will deal a certain amount of damage and thus proc it. Now, a lot of you understand that you have to have the target below 50% HP for the Shock Blast to register procking the Dark Harvest. But a very, very, very neat mechanic, and why I feel this will be the best rune for Jayce mid, period, is because you're able to proc Dark Harvest even if the opponent has above 50% HP, because your Shock Blast will drop them below that threshold. And then if you have a Corrupting Pot ticking, the Corrupting Pot will thus activate Dark Harvest because they're below the 50% HP threshold. And I can't tell you how many times I have literally one-shotted someone at the 70 to 75, if not 80% HP mark, if they're a Sona or a Vayne or a Nami or a non-armor building jungler slash tank or mid laner. And I've even blown up tanks because I've able to done the combo so quickly, as you know Jayce's all-in combos are, to have Dark Harvest be incorporated, as well as getting a Dustblade proc off during the engagement. But I'm more talking about landing the far snipes, because again, if they're even at the 55-60% HP health threshold, and your Shock Blast takes away 50% of their HP, or say 45% of their HP, the Corrupting Pot will proc Dark Harvest to proc the extra damage necessary to pretty much guarantee a kill, thus making Jayce's Q have an extra damage ratio between 100 early game to as late as 300 plus extra attack damage added to your armor scale or armor pin scaling that you get between your lethality, your black cleaver, and your last whisper, to be able to make that all in just ruining for people. Okay, so the next combo slash mechanic I'd like to go over is this one's pretty well commonly known. It is, but it isn't. You're able to wall hop with Jayce's Q targeting to be able to get away from a given scenario. You know, as you can see here. So if I ward over the wall, I can Q, and I can do that with the Gromp. I can do it with Wolves. As you see, if I gain vision, you're obviously able to just wall hop. Very, very straightforward. You can do it with the Wraiths on this side, which a lot of people don't know about this one right here. This one was very, very painstakingly long to learn, and I'm glad I did, because I finally figured out the sweet spot's about right here. So you're able to go over the wall here. And again, it works with pretty much any scenario where you need the wall hop. But the other trick to this that I learned over time is, if you don't have a ward, you're able to drop your gate on top of said target you need to see, so you can Q over the wall, jump through your speed boost, and be able to keep kiting, which is game changing when you're trying to run away from people. Another really cool trick is if say you don't have your gate combo and you just have a Shock Blast, if you fire a regular Shock Blast in time, the explosion radius gives you vision for a split second. So if you time your Q form swap just right, you can hop over the wall without even needing to drop a ward or your gate, which is very, very useful. And then there is another flip side to this mechanic that I'm going to be discussing as well, where like I just explained, how you're able to get vision and ward hop over to the said jungle camp. But what happens when the scenario is flipped and you're, instead of on this side of the map, you're on this side of the map and you're trapped right here and you're thinking, shit, how do I get out of this? Well, a lot of these jungle camps are able to be knocked over the wall with Jayce's Q or E, and then you can Q them over and get out of sticky scenarios just like you just saw. And this can be done again with every jungle camp, pretty much. So you just stand close enough to him to get knocked back into the wall. He goes over the wall. You cue him immediately because you still have vision of him, and then boom, bada boom, bada bing. The other thing that's pretty neat, again, is it can be done on pretty much any jungle camp. It's very tricky to pull off properly. But you got to stand as close to the jungle camp as possible and press your E, and you will be able to knock said jungle camps over walls to get out of any scenario. And it works with blue buff as well. Watch, I'll do it on blue buff. We'll knock it over this wall. Oh, I fucked it up. Oh well, we'll try it on this blue buff till it resets. But like I said, you just gotta stand just close enough to be able to get like the as close as auto attack range as possible. And then you just press your E and they go over the wall. And then if I would have queued quick enough, I could have just followed through immediately. And again, it works with both buffs. It's just a little tricky on this one apparently. But if you do it just right, you can get over the wall. And I'm glad, I'm hoping you guys learned from this one. I will be showing other mechanics, but this is the Q wall hop system. The next mechanic I want to discuss is the E auto attack with Jayce, and I want to basically break down how it works first, and then I'll showcase doing it multiple times in a row. Basically, Jayce's auto attack range has a slightly less of a range than his E, thus making whenever you press your E, the E will always register first before you are able to get the auto attack to register. So the easiest way to pull this off is the closer you are to the target, the more efficient it is to pull off. So the second you press your E, you right click the target and it automatically will register an auto attack immediately after it. And the best way to practice this is by just simply going in the practice tool and just autoing a dummy over and over. And eventually you'll get to the point where it'll become second nature. Oh, messed up that one. But it's pretty straightforward. Okay, the next combo I'd like to discuss involves using Jayce's knockback with Flash, and using Flash makes Jayce's E have two very distinct possibilities on an engage. What you can do is you can either create distance from said opponent, because the second you press your E, the direction that your opponent that goes in will always go in that direction, no matter where they are currently displaced. I've had Lysandra E's, ZW's, Talon wall hops canceled. I've had Yasuo dashes, Fizz Qs, and that's just to name things off the top of my head that I'm remembering as of this moment. So the first trick with Flash involves you basically casting your E in whatever said direction you want your opponent to go, and then flashing completely opposite to be able to create an escape route, and it basically looks like this. And if you do it correctly, you will create such an immense lead or distance between the two of you that there's really not a good way for the opponent to regain on you unless they have gap closing or they're an Olaf. But and then the other version of the mechanic that involves E is basically doing the reverse opposite of a Jayce or of a Lee Sin insect, and what I like to call it is the Jayce sec. And what it involves is you have to cue the target, and you have to picture that cue as a ward hop. And then instead of being able to E flash, because if you E flash, you'll just go in the direction of the dummy. So what you have to do is cue your target, and immediately after cueing your target, you have to flash, because your cue gives you just enough distance to get behind the target to be able to E your opponent off guard into your ally team or a jungle gank, etc. So I'll do the combo real quick. I'll do both of them again. This is the E flash disengage. Alright, and then this is the Jayce insect, or the Jayce sec as I like to call it. Alright. The next mechanic I'd like to discuss involves Jayce's Q targeting, where you're able to cancel the animation of the ability, so it's harder to see, but it doesn't speed up the animation. So what that involves is going to your key bindings and going to your laugh and setting a secondary binding to whatever you prefer. In my case, I have it set to my mouse. So when I press my mouse, my laugh goes off. Now what that does is it allows me to, the second I press my Q on the target, press my mouse button to have Jayce laugh, thus canceling the animation. Now I will do 3 normal Qs in a row, and then I'll do 3 canceled Qs in a row to showcase the difference and how it looks. So that's a normal Q, normal Q, and a normal Q. And now here's the canceled ones. Canceled, canceled, and canceled. So you see the difference? The next Jayce combo I'd like to discuss involves using Jayce's hypercharge to be able to orb walk while moving against your opponent. And what I mean by that is, in any given scenario, when you activate Jayce's hypercharge, you should never be standing still, because when you stand still, you're not able to efficiently kite your target, whether they run or they run at you. And what I mean by that is, if you right click your target to get your first auto attack off, your hypercharge is an auto attack reset, so it allows you to get your first regular auto attack off and then 3 concurrent immediate hyperspeed auto attacks off afterwards while still moving. And what I mean by that is you have to basically practice, but as you can see, I get 4 auto attacks off, and what I'm doing is as soon as I right click, I press my W and move, and I'm able to kite, as you can see here, the hypercharge. You know, any direction. I can go right, I can go left, etc. And it's really straightforward to do. Again, all you have to do is the second your first auto attack registers, you press W and move to count moving, and then you just kite it. And it's very easy. The next combo I'd like to go over is input buffering Jayce's Q Shock Blast to be able to close a gap on someone and unexpectedly catch them off guard, because when you flash after casting your Q, it creates your an input buffer where your Q is casted immediately after your flash, thus making it very, you know, hard to recognize and avoid, because if you flash first in Q, there's still the full cast time at the end of your flash. Whereas if you Q flash, oh, in that case I didn't flash quick enough, but if you Q flash during your cast time, it still casts your Q, but it goes off where you flash to, not where you casted it from. And the thing about this is neat because you're able to aim your QEs differently. And what I mean by that is, say there's something in the way of your target, you can either flash over it instantly and get a Q off, or you can flash to the side to get your Q off. But flashing to the side makes you have to miss aim your Q, because the flash distance is what makes the Q hit where it should be when you're pressing it. And then the advanced tip of this is basically including your shock blast into this said situation, and it looks a little bit like this. But in my case, I didn't flash over the dummy, so I'm the dummy. There we go. Alright. And again, it's very, very nice for catching people off guard, because they don't expect you to either be able to dodge these or predict where they're going to be if you do a flash to the side of them. The first mechanic I would like to discuss in this video is not necessarily a mechanic as much as it is a bug that I've discovered with the Jayce Q targeting system. So as you can see, there are 3 dummies ahead of me, right? And if I press my Q on this dummy, I should only hit this dummy, correct? Which I will, as you can see here. But if I'm too close to the dummy, right, but not close enough, and I press my Q, I will then be able to make the AoE radius move forward, thus affecting targets behind the initial impact zone where it should be hitting. But wait, there's more. Now, if I'm not close enough, but yet if I'm too close, say auto attack range, and I Q my target, I will then flip over my target instead of landing on the target like I should, like a Jax Q does, for instance, just throwing that out there. Instead, I will do damage in front of my target instead of the AoE radius designated on the targeting. thus making the cube completely bugged, as you can see. And it's not just like oh, that was an accident. It's 100% reproducible. As you can see, I could do this all day. I can stand right here all day and hit that dummy. Or I could stand back here and hit just this dummy, you know. Or I could stand right here and hit both of them. But that's the first combo I like to discuss. There's going to be many more. And without further ado, here they are. Another bug I would like to make known that I've stated 3 weeks ago when I was first discovered on PBE is to those of you that are familiar with Jayce, know that in this current state for this patch, there's an issue with his auto attacks being muted on his base form, his Bright Hammer form, his Debonair Jayce, and his Full Metal Jayce skin. And the only skin that's not affected is Forsaken Jayce. But I just wanted to showcase on this skin the muted auto attacks and how frustrating it can be as a Jayce main to not hear your auto attacks, which can very, very greatly, especially if you're a new player, impact your gameplay for last hitting. For me, it's personally just an annoyance at this point because I've played so much Jayce, I know his timing of his auto attacks. But to a new player, again, it is so frustrating not hearing over half of your auto attacks or consistently not hearing multiple auto attacks in a row. I've had my record be 6 auto attacks for no reason be muted. And I'm just sitting here going, this has been discovered 3 weeks ago, and I had brought it to Riot's attention on 3 different occasions through the subreddit, through Twitter, and through YouTube, and through a support ticket as well. So 4 actually. And it was never brought up, or it was never looked into. So I'm just making it another very known, clear statement now that every so often, or every other auto attack is literally muted in hammer form. And I'll showcase it right now real quick. So you heard that one, and that one, but that one was silent. You heard that one, and that one. Silence. Silence. Heard that one, and that one. Heard that one as well. Silence on that one. Silence on that one. Heard that one. Silence on that one. Heard that one. And that one. Silence on that one. Silence on that one. And heard that one. So you can understand, and don't get mistaken, please, because I just want to also explain this. Don't sit there and think that you're still hearing the auto attack, because what you're hearing is the game dummy registering being hit, so it's doing that animation, but not the actual sound of the auto attack for Jayce's hammer form. So, and what I mean by this is on a minion that has no recourse for being hit, it just gets hit. And when that auto attack is 100% silent, you literally hear nothing. But I just wanted to showcase it because you can see the difference between that sound and that sound is insanely hard to tell when there's nothing bouncing back to be registered as being hit.